Let's get right to the video.
So today I want to talk about how to survive the Indian education system. Now, this is not to say that the Indian education system is not good, but this is to say that every education system has its own flaws, and this video is to help you realize those flaws and how to overcome them so that you can get the best possible learning experience. So let's get right to it. Okay, so before that, I want to quickly talk about why I decided to make this video. So I have been in the Indian education system for about 15 years, and then I went to the US for my undergrad, and I was there in that education system for about a year. And both systems are great, both systems have their own strengths and weaknesses. But now that I've been in two systems, I've kind of realized what works and what doesn't work, and the things that one system does good and the other does not. Say for instance, the American education system focuses a lot on writing part, in that making sure that you understand what you're doing and making sure you get sort of a practical experience of what you're learning. And in the Indian education system, that is not always the case, even though things are changing rapidly now, and teachers do encourage students to do lab activities and projects and other things so that they can get a more practical experience. On the other hand, what the Indian education what the Indian education system does best is that they go deep into all topics that they cover, and that's really nice because you don't just get the surface level knowledge. You actually go deep and you understand why things happen instead of just being fed information. The American education system doesn't feed you information, but in my experience, feel that they don't go really deep into topics. They only cover like the first two surface levels of all topics, and I see why they do that, because they have pretty limited time, and they obviously assign you a lot of projects and stuff so that you can learn things on your own. But I would really like it if they went deeper into the topics so that we really understand what's going on. So with that in mind, I'm going to move forward with the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the fear of making mistakes. Where do I even begin with this? I was one of those students who was always afraid of making mistakes. I always wanted my first step or my first move to be the best one, to be the correct one. And because of that, I would take so much time to even initiate the learning process, in that I was so afraid of making the wrong move or taking the wrong step, whether it was maybe solving a sum or it was just like playing a game of chess. But you see, that's the wrong idea. You should not be afraid of making a mistake. And you know what? This is what I've learned over the years, that your first step is always going to be somewhat wrong. And your first sum is most probably going to be wrong. Your first equation is most probably going to be wrong. Your first whatever is most probably going to be imperfect. And that's fine. That's the best. That's great, because you're going to learn from all those things. And when it comes to learning things like maths, physics, chemistry, or even English, sometimes it's all about like looking at all the different possibilities. Like you first take this step and you're like, oh, that's not wrong, let me go back and take this step. Oh, that's wrong as well, let me go back and take this step. Oh, this is right, let's move on to the next step. So that's how you arrive at the conclusion in the end. And it's a process. You are never going to get the right one in the first attempt, and you have to cover everything so that you get to the right step. And most of the times what happens is that not children, I'm also children, problem solvers like me and a lot of other people, they get demotivated when they get the first two attempts wrong, and they're like, oh no, I'm not gonna do this anymore, like this is a blow to my self-esteem, and I'm just gonna cry that I can't get this sum right, so let me just not do this thing at all. No, please don't do that. That's the wrong approach, and I am still learning to get rid of that bad habit, in that even when I do make mistakes, I try to not get demotivated from that, and I try to keep on going and try to do it on my own. But do get help when you need it, but try to solve problems, try to learn things on your own before getting help. But do get help if you don't understand. Please get help. It helps a lot. But the point here being that be shameless when it comes to learning, in that don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay if your friends laugh. That's what friends are for. It's okay if your classmates laugh. It's okay. I mean, when you make mistakes while other people are there, you are actually making a more inclusive environment, a more comfortable environment for them to learn as well, because they won't be afraid of making mistakes if you make mistake first. There's a really cute dog outside. Okay, so where were we? uh, Making mistakes. Yes, it's good if you make mistakes. It's okay if people laugh, because you're helping them as well by making mistakes. It's all good. It's okay. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. And that's about it. Let's move on to the next one. The next thing that I want to talk about is fear of teachers. And I have a lot to say about this because I was one of those kids who was afraid of teachers all the time. And it bugs me that we create this fear of teachers idea, that you are supposed to be afraid of the teachers, that they are some kind of, I don't know, evil people who have control over you. When in reality, they are just there to teach you and you are there to learn from them. And it honestly bugs me a lot that we create that kind of an environment in a classroom, because in that kind of a setting you cannot learn. If you're afraid of someone, how can you learn from them? And this is not always the teacher's fault. Even the students are sometimes responsible for it. They try to villainize the teachers, and even some teachers tend to have a very intimidating personality. So it's not one person's fault. It's just this thing that happens from both sides. And a lot of my fear came from the fact that my teacher was in charge of my all grades, that my grades for behavior and all those things that CBSE has right now, and my grades for my academics, my teacher was in charge for all of those things. And I was afraid that if I messed up or if I did something that made her not like me, then my grades would be screwed. And this is not to say that you should disrespect them or you should be indisciplined in class or things like that, but if there is something that you feel is right, or if there is something that you are having trouble learning, or just anything that's on your mind, you should be able to share it with them, as long as it's appropriate and related to school. And I have had two types of teachers who make the classroom feel like a safe environment where you can learn without being afraid, where you can easily commit mistakes and learn from them. And there are teachers who sometimes embarrass you for getting the wrong answer, or they feel that they should have the control all the time, which they should. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but they should also encourage the students to learn on their own, like through discussions or through talking. I know talking is not something that is usually encouraged in a classroom, but come on, you are there with like 30-40 other students so that you can learn from all of them, not just one single person who's standing in front of you. But coming back to the topic, there is a clear difference between respect and fear. And respect in a classroom is very important, but fear is not necessarily the right thing to have. When you are a student, you should be able to talk to the people around you, you should be able to talk to the teacher without feeling like you're doing something wrong. And here's the thing, no good teacher will make you feel inferior just because you got the answer wrong or just because you made a mistake. The conclusion being that you should not be afraid of your teachers. They're there to teach you, not to intimidate you. Moving on to the next point. Why do I keep doing this all the time? So, the third thing that I want to talk about is learning to actually learn. This is something that I recently discovered, and this is something that my brother agrees with as well. And it's about learning things so that you can actually truly learn from them, instead of just learning it from an exam point of view or from the point of view of tests and grades. This has truly helped me a lot to understand what I am actually reading and to appreciate what I'm actually learning. I still remember when I was in 11th and 12th standard, and I would just constantly underline things and write notes and just learn equations just so I could do well on tests and for nothing else, not so that I could actually learn, so that I could enhance my knowledge. It was only from the point of view of tests and grades. And it made the whole learning process very stressful, because everything that I was doing was for grades. And if suddenly grades did not matter, say it was just a mock test, then I wouldn't even touch that textbook. Like, I wouldn't even look at it. But it's very difficult to learn things when you're doing it for something else but not for yourself, when you're doing it just for marks or just for grades. It's difficult to learn the things because you need a purpose when you're learning things. In my opinion, it helps me to actually understand what I'm reading. For example, towards the end of my high school, I had to do a urea formaldehyde experiment, and I freaking hated it. I did not want to do it. I thought it was just stupid, and that I had to make a yellow cake. It didn't make sense to me, so I just did the experiment. I just wrote down things from the internet and I just submitted it. In the end, I didn't even know what the equation of urea formaldehyde was. I just turned it in because I had to. I did not learn anything from it. And when today people ask me about like my experiments and what I did, I can't even say anything about it. Like when they ask me, oh, how was chemistry for you in high school, I can't say anything because I don't even remember learning it, because I only did it for my tests and for submissions. I didn't do all those things for myself. And this applies to, I think, every single subject that I studied in my high school. I don't remember anything at all, because whatever I did was just for that particular moment. It wasn't for myself or for my future self. It was just to clear off all the hurdles so that I can head off to college. But the things that I still remember learning about in high school are the things that I really wanted to learn, are things that no one pressurized me to learn, are the things that I wanted to do because I wanted to do. And even today, if you ask me about parturition in biology, I can give you a lecture because I was so fascinated by the whole process. I still remember it. And if you ask me about saponification in chemistry, I can make a YouTube video about it. I'm not going to do that, but I can. The point is that if you do something because you want to do it, because you want to actually learn it, not just so that you can submit an assignment or so that you can get a good grade, if you do something because you want to learn it, you will do very well in it. Is anyone still watching the video, or is it just me talking to the camera by myself? But yeah, so in the end, learn because you want to learn. And it's fun that way. Before I end this video, I want to talk about some fun ways to learn about things that you have to learn. One resource that helped me a lot in learning things that I didn't really have any previous knowledge about is online videos, and especially Khan Academy. Anything and everything that I know about the periodic table is from Khan Academy. It's an amazing resource if you want to learn about things that you don't already know anything about. It's a great resource if you travel often, or if you just want to listen to something or look at something while you're doing some work, or if you're exercising. And if you are a class 11th or 12th student and you want to learn a lot of physics, then I would highly recommend this YouTube channel called Exam Fear. I used it a lot when I was in 12th standard. It helped me a lot. She is a great teacher and she will go through all the topics, and you can rewind and rewatch whenever you want to. That's a great thing. Now, I have heard that Pradeep Kshetrapal videos are really good for physics, but the only thing is that they're very long, probably because he goes really deep into the topics. So you can check those videos out if you have a lot of time to learn what you need to learn, or you're still in the beginning of the semester. You can check those videos out too. Just increase up the playback speed and you'll move through the topics pretty quickly. I just realized that I should make a separate video of all the online resources available to 11th and 12th standard students, so I'm gonna do that pretty soon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you the next time I upload a video. Bye!